Alright there geezers, Jules here from FGS, home of the Future Game Show, and I just have to come clean and tell you something right here, right now. I bloody love Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. I know, what a shock, right? From its meticulous detail to its wonderful mechanics and characters that have such commendable acting, it is my game of the year of 2025 to beat. At least I think so. And that medieval setting? God, whoa, governor, I'll be wearing a hole through my trousers if I keep rubbing myself raw like this. Knights, peasants, and a hefty dose of plague. It's just a time period that I love exploring. I mean, you can't rely on tech to get you out of a sticky situation, and it's so satisfying to become literal heavy metal and don a suit of armor to ring 7 bells out of your opponent. So it got me thinking, what other games are there out there that capture this feudal feeling? Well, let's have a chat then, as I'm Jules, this is FGS, and these are 8 medieval games that will break you. Oh yeah, we're getting brutal. Number 8, God Save Birmingham. Now, as a man who has visited the actual city of Birmingham many times over the years, I have often exclaimed aloud after a long night out and witnessing the pure nightmare creatures that call this place their home that God indeed does need to step in and save Birmingham. Yeesh. I kid, of course, it's just that the nights out in Birmingham, they often go wild. Ask my mates Sam and Joe. Or don't, because we don't want to relive the horrors. However, that's not as wild as the situation you find yourself in within God Save Birmingham, an upcoming zombie survival title with a pretty significant twist. That being that the outbreak is taking place in the 14th century, and all you have to defend yourself with is a pitchfork and the inability to read, as you are a common peasant. In order to survive, you'll have to sneak around a supposedly faithfully recreated medieval Birmingham, gathering supplies and seeking out safe houses in order to survive the night. However, if this is sounding a bit familiar to other survival titles, God Saves Brum adds in the wrinkle of physics-based carnage. That means that zombies can be tripped, objects can be thrown in their way to slow them down, and you can even stack furniture against doors to bar entrance to the undead. This has all the hallmarks of a wonderfully silly and utterly terrifying time, as you'll be panicking about your thirst and overall unbitten body one minute, and then laughing your ass off as a zombie falls down like a chimney or something like that. Bring it on. Number 7, A Merchant's Promise. Now, if I were to describe A Merchant's Promise as a medieval flavoured title with physics-based gameplay, you'd probably be thinking I'm just carrying on talking about God Save Birmingham and that there are 2 P's in Ye Olde Boote. But when it comes to tone, well, they couldn't be more different. And I say this because A Merchant's Promise is a technically calm, relaxed, almost zen-like affair in which you travel the land with a wagon of goods looking to make a name for yourself. Now, that might not sound like a game that will break you, but trust me, trying to transport your goods across bumpy roads and through storms and frosts and where everything is physics-based as well will most definitely challenge you again and again. I mean, just imagine the absolute loss you'll experience when you go over a bump and a cabbage falls out and rolls away into the undergrowth. My cabbages! Plus, there's the other twist, in that A Merchant's Promise strips away nearly all of the quest markers and intrusive HUD features that other games love to plaster the screen with. For all intents and purposes, it's just you, your goods, and the road ahead. And you will have to plot the correct course, listen to the tales of the locals, and make physical notes on what valuable information they impart. The devs stress this so much that they make sure that the tutorial video is something that you definitely watch, because they mention it again and again and again. Because once it's done, you're basically on your own. And if you want an example of how even small decisions in this game can affect you, the devs actually put out a video highlighting that it starts to rain, right? And you can unload your goods and put them under the cart so it stops them from spoiling. Now, this will be a time-intensive micromanaging affair for sure, but if the early access is proving anything, it's that A Merchant's Promise is shaping up to be a supremely rewarding experience right across the board. Number 6, Blight Survival. I mean, you knew this game was going to be on here, right? And I tell you what, if you don't know what Blight Survival is, outside of finally getting rid of that itchy crotch that's been pestering you for ages, then I am genuinely giddy I say, to tell you all about it, as this game is going to kick ass even if it lives up to like 10% of its promises. Now, the best way to think about this game is like, what if Resident Evil was delivered through the lens of the bubonic plague, with a touch of Space Marine 2 added on top? Because here, you're tasked with surviving in a medieval landscape that has been destroyed by a mysterious disease that has turned the locals into blood-hungry ghouls and zombies. Blah. That's technically a vampire, but you know what I mean. And these aren't your nan's old school ghouls who shuffle more than a music playlist controlled by somebody with ADHD. These are running, in-your-face monsters that will close the distance fast. Thankfully though, you're not alone, as up to 3 other players can join you in order to push into the unknown and secure loot along the way. You can customize your knight with bespoke armor, weapons and skills, and then forge a path alone or with your party as you seek out not just a cure to this horrible blight, but line your own pockets along the way. In fact, the game actually points out that choosing when to turn back is going to play a huge part in the experience, likely meaning that those willing to risk it all could come back with huge rewards, or simply not at all. Plus, I mean, look at this game. It looks absolutely fantastic. Now please, Haynes Studios, please just give us a release date already. Number 5, Scriptorum, Master of Manuscripts. If there's one thing that I find myself strangely fascinated with, it's medieval illustrations and artworks, especially when it comes to how people of yore decided to draw their pets and other animals. It's basically like they just went, okay, how could I make this cat look nothing like a cat, and also just give it a trumpet, and also just some weird boggly eyes for some reason. Just, so you know what, just make it hench as for some reason. Why? That's what I think my cat looks like. So it gave me great pleasure when I discovered the game Scriptorum, Master of Manuscripts, a game in which you're tasked with creating your own manic illustrations to meet the needs of your demanding customers. And upon seeing the gameplay, well, it broke me in an entirely different way, because I couldn't stop bloody laughing. Thanks to the genuinely incredible amount of illustrations to choose from, plus full reign on the size and placement of them, you'll experience a kind of like tiny glade level of peace and calm as you stack images over one another to create the wildest and most incredible scenes. And all of this is wrapped up in a charming sense of humour, which has illustrated customers chiming in with feedback on your latest work alongside some delightfully lo-fi and weird voice acting. I tell you this for none, I like it. Has become stuck in my head ever since watching the announcement trailer. Mark, please play a clip of it so that people don't think that I am even more insane than I usually am.
I like it.
I like it. I like it. I'm going around the house at the moment because me and the missus, we're redoing the kitchen. So I'm having to like fill in a load of cracks. We're doing paint samples and just all this other that goes with it. And every single time she presents me with like one of these, she's like, yeah, I do quite like it. And I'm just like, I like it. I like it. And she's just like, what are you saying? What are you saying? I like it. I like it. I like it.
I like it.
If you're looking for a relaxing, medieval, cozy game with charm and humour to boot, plus the added value of being able to create the silliest looking creatures of all time, then Scriptorum, Master of Manuscripts is the game for you. Number 4, Ale Abbey. So here's a fun bit of information for you. Well, less fun and more of a setting up of a segue for this next entry, but still, anyway, very close to the town where I was born and raised sits Buckfast Abbey, a fairly unremarkable religious site, bar for one reason. That being, it is the place where Buckfast Abbey tonic wine is brewed. Now this magical tonic is called, in Scotland, Wreck the Hoose juice, because it is highly alcoholic, sweet and syrupy, and for added bloody hell Y factor, it's caffeinated as well. It is potent stuff to say the least, and a hangover on the stuff will break, there's the segue, even the hardest of souls. Which leads me to talk about our next game, Ale Abbey, in which you too can take a turn at crafting tonics and beers to dole out to the massives as a monk. And as you develop your signature blends through trial and error testing, you'll use the money made from sales to build up your monastery high enough to tickle the nose of God themselves. However, aside from making sure that you don't accidentally make wildfire from Game of Thrones, you also have to manage the mood of your monks, meaning that you'll have to provide them with sleeping quarters, keep them fed, and most definitely keep them watered with all of your precious beers and ales. Just be sure to limit their exposure, as Friar Tuck over here can go to Friar f***ed off his head if he's had a few too many, and trust me, vomit is awfully hard to wash off precious religious tapestry. Ale Abbey is actually in early access right now and has a free demo for you to try, so check it out. Number 3, Hunger. Oh dear, it is time for Ye Olde Finger Temple of Doom once more, because with this next entry I am indeed stretching things to their limit by claiming this game's time period is medieval. However, what is definitely true about upcoming PvPvE extraction title Hunger is that things surely are set in the Dark Ages, because this game is flippin' bleak. Set against the backdrop of a cataclysmic event in which nations gave way to ruin, you are on the brink of human extinction. And now only the hardiest and most willing to throw their lives away stand any chance of making it through another day. Now what this means for you is forming a party and venturing out into the wastes, armed with rudimentary firearms and a ton of melee weapons in a manner that is kind of 2 parts Hunt Showdown and 1 part chivalry. The action looks intense and brutal, with limited ranged ammo meaning that you'll have to pick your shots carefully or risk going into combat where one move can spell disaster and leave you bleeding out. However, this intensity also seems to follow on after the fighting is done, as resources that you gather can be used to craft items that can then be sold in a player-led marketplace. Now, to be clear, details are pretty scant on this, but it is suggested that in keeping with the game's tone of survival, player trade will form the backbone of an in-world economy, meaning that if there's, say, a shortage of bandages, then somebody could theoretically make a killing by heading out into the waste to collect them. Whether we'll see hostile trading that matches the combat is one thing, but it's a truly interesting premise to say the least, and it's putting Hunger right at the top of my games to check out when this hits early access. Number 2, Kinstrife. Now I won't lie to you, friends. Yay! When I first saw Kinstrife, I was slightly put off with its rather wacky looking PS2-ass graphics, especially when I saw what the character builder looked like, because it was like, what are we doing? We building Slenderman here instead of the Knight of the Round? What's going on? However, I soon ate my words when I saw a spear get deflected off of a shield and into another player's face, skewering them in the process. And that's because Kinstrife's absolute killer feature is that every single sword swing, pike strike, or flighted arrow is entirely physics-based. That means that the clash of steel has never felt more real. And I do mean battles, because as the trailer shows off, you can have dozens of enemies on screen at once. And with the developers promising that sword swings will bounce off wood and steel and that characters can slip and tumble on uneven terrain if pushed, means that Kinstrife might become the most intense battle simulator going. As you fight shoulder to shoulder with your men at arms, you'll literally have to squeeze between them in order to deliver a killing blow. And it genuinely leads me to believe that proper medieval fighting tactics will actually be a prevailing way to win. Formations of spearmen, or utilizing flanking, or using hammers to bash in armor, all of this and more awaits us in Kinstrife, alongside some other pretty brilliant features like your renown in battle informing how many mercenaries will follow you into the next fight. So yeah, do well in battle, get more of a crowd to follow you in. It makes sense, and it's pretty cool. So get stuck in and fight to become the king. And number 1, Anvil Empires. War never changes. That's what Chin with a human attached to it, acting legend Ron Perlman once told us at the beginning of the Fallout experience. But you know what? He was wrong, as Anvil Empires is set to prove with its rather fresh approach to MMO battling. But you see, instead of you joining a clan or guild and working your way to the top of an NPC-powered ladder, here every single aspect of war and life outside of battling is controlled by individual players. In this persistent online world, you'll need to work together to build settlements and defenses, decide whether to answer the call of mightier online lords, and slowly build your own fiefdom together. Every aspect, from how many horses you have in your stables to the amount of grain your settlement produces, is down to individual players, meaning that you'll all have to pull together to build enough resources in order to wage war or even just survive sieges. In theory, you may spend your entire online life working under another player as a serf, or maybe seize the opportunity and ransack supplies to forge your own destiny. With battles featuring hundreds of other players and where every single single soldier is an individual player, it's crazy, man. And you've got like formations that you'll have to march in order to get bonuses. You can ride in front of the troops and give them rousing speeches. It's looking to be the most granular peasant simulator this side of trying to afford rent in London. And there we go, my friends. Those were 8 medieval themed games that will break you. I hope that you enjoyed that, and let me know what you thought about it down in the comment section below. And if you want to chat to me on the social medias, you can do so by following me over on Blue Sky and Instagram, where it's at RetroJ, but the O is a 0, or you can follow my lovely editor Mark over on his social medias over here as well. But before I go, I just want to say one thing. Even though we spoke today about medieval games that will try to break you, I instead don't want to focus on breaking people down. I want to lift people up with a tiny bit of positivity, a little mantra that they can carry forward in their day-to-day lives to make things seem a little better or help them through that process. And that all starts by just being kind to yourself, my friends, because you deserve that love, happiness, and respect. We all do as human beings, so don't go out there and beat yourself up. You deserve better than that. Treat yourself with love and respect. You big ledge. You are. You deserve it. As always, I've been Jules. You have been awesome, and never forget that, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.